From the shadows, a monster emerges, ready to tear apart the fragile fairways of our beautiful game. Will this be the driver that pulls Cobra ahead of the competition and into another dimension? Nope. So, cards fully on the table. I am a Cobra fan. When I was younger, when I was starting my professional career, I had Cobra Driver, Cobra 3-wood, and recently I've used their 1-length irons as well. But there are just so many things that annoy me about this driver that I wanted to share them with you first before we go digging around to try and find some redeeming features. Firstly, the name and slogan, the DARKSPEED. Nothing is faster than the speed of light, except the speed of dark.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Now, the speed of light is 299,792,458 meters per second, or 186,000 miles per second. According to Einstein, nothing can travel faster than this cosmic speed limit. So this slogan is annoying nonsense. It's nonsense.
Anyway, the DARKSPEED from Cobra, it comes in 3 models. We have the LS, which is in my hands, the X, and the Max. The Max, as you may expect, is designed for maximum forgiveness. The X kind of sits in the middle, that's the standard model. And here, the LS, well, that is the low spinning, absolute monster of a driver, according to Cobra. The biggest change from previous models is found in this LS model, where they have reshaped the head to be taller in the middle and lower on the sides, which helps it slip through the air. There have been small changes within the X and the Max version, but not massively different than the Aerojet that came out last year. And that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because what Cobra have done is they've made the most difference within the LS model, and this is the driver that the least amount of golfers are actually going to be buying. Also, aerodynamics is like a really hard sell, because for a lot of people, the consistency in their numbers, it's not there to be able to actually tell those differences. But time to test these on the launch monitor back in the studio. And first up, let's go for the LS.
If only I could hit a fairway.
Now, if I put my gripes aside, I must admit, behind the ball, this driver looks fantastic. It's compact, it's super clean, it's just so simple. So if you're thinking of getting a driver that looks like a stealth bomber, a sleek stealth bomber at that, then this could be the one for you.
If only I could hit a fairway.
But be warned, this is very unforgiving. Out of the heel and out of the toe, it just gives nothing back. Takes everything away. But seriously, with the heel and the toe on the LS, it just doesn't perform good. It's pretty horrible. Out the middle, however, if you strike it, like it's a real beast. It's like a proper beast. So I'm a relatively decent ball striker with the driver, but even I think this is just a bit too difficult to hit. So even if you strike the driver really well, if you're thinking of getting this driver, make sure you test it beforehand to see if you can handle the beast. And data-wise, that is what is shown here. So from the middle, exceptionally powerful, right up there with some of the most powerful drivers on the market today. But the heel and toe strikes just fall out of the air with absolutely no spin. And it's that low spin which from the middle of the DARKSPEED LS makes it such an absolute monster, but it's also its greatest weakness, and it's so unforgiving.
So the X and the Max, they're interesting. They have a bigger footprint, they look maybe a little bit easier to hit, but they do lose this stealthy appeal that the LS has.
Hey, if you're enjoying the reviews that are on this channel this year, and you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. We are well on our way to getting 600,000 subscribers on this main channel. So please, if you haven't already, join this community. It will be great to have you on board.
I do still think they look good, however. I tested both the X again, which is the standard model, against the LS in 8 degrees with the same shaft and ball. And to be honest, the X was pretty low spinning in its own right and would probably suit the majority of golfers from a kind of mid handicap all the way down to low. Now the X doesn't have that crazy explosiveness of the LS, which was the longest on the test, but you can actually see here with the data, there wasn't loads between them. And I would say that the X did give the extra benefit of being a little bit more forgiving when compared to the low spinning, difficult to hit LS. So far this year, I've tested and hit a lot of drivers, 2 of which are super forgiving, and they do control their spin really well. Now this X is just as long as the TaylorMade QI10 and the Ping G430 Max 10K, but it's just not quite as forgiving. Both the X and the Max are going to make Cobra fans pretty happy, and there are things within these drivers that I do like. The weighting system in the X and the Max is pretty comprehensive. The shaft sleeve I really like as well, very simple, and it allows a lot of maneuverability as far as loft and ball shaping is concerned. But when I compare the X and the Max to the Aerojet models from last year, I'm not really seeing that much of an advancement in the data. As mentioned, I really like Cobra as a brand, and I finally hit a fairway. But with these drivers, the X and the Max, I just don't see how they're more of a tempting prospect than other drivers out there on the market. Yes, distance-wise, they're probably comparable, but they're not quite as forgiving, and they're not a massive advancement on what the Aerojet was offering last year. To make this driver more forgiving, Cobra have been playing around with making their power shell and hot face bigger. The power shell tech is basically a way for the face to wrap around and underneath the sole of the club. And Cobra say by doing this, they've expanded the overall area of their hot face. However, it does leave these Cobras being in a really strange position of the most modifications being made to the driver that the least amount of people are going to buy, and then the other 2 Cobras in the X and the Max being good, being fine, being decent drivers, but they're not as forgiving as some of the other drivers which have been brought out. So where does that leave them? The DARKSPEED LS, I understand that driver. It's clean, it's simple, it's compact, it's meant to be hit out the middle, and if you do, it's a low spinning beast. It belongs amongst this current crop of drivers. I get it. I know what it's for. The X and the Max, I don't know. For the rest of the new driver releases this year, make sure you check out these videos. We have the new Ping and the new TaylorMade, and of course, the Callaway AI Smoke.